Metanomics is brought to you by Remedy Communications and Dusan Writers Metaverse.
So you chose an interesting example that I'm not sure I agree with on child pornography because although, well, I guess if you're talking about real photographic depictions of real human children, then I do agree. But in fact, with the internet and with machinima video, like we're doing right now, it won't be long until we have very photorealistic depictions of people doing, of all ages, doing all sorts of things, which I understand right now would be legal in Japan, illegal in Germany, and unclear in the United States.
Yeah, it is unclear in the United States, but actually there was a Supreme Court case not too many years ago that dealt with this and said that virtual depictions of child pornography essentially are not unconstitutional, that they are protected by the First Amendment because basically at the end of the day, no one was hurt. No real human being, physical human being or child was hurt in the production of these things. Now, I have to tell you, I'm about as hardcore of a free speech First Amendment guy as you'll find, but that decision left me a little uneasy, and even though I generally think I support that going forward, I think your point, Rob, is a really interesting and touchy one, which is we are talking about depictions right now that everyone can clearly see are not real human beings. These are avatars or other types of digitizations, digital renderings of these activities. And that's one thing. But what happens when it's so photorealistic that you cannot tell the difference between an actual human and a digital avatar? Well, of course, I think the first thing we'd say is, well, let's explore this and see if it was a real human or not. It is going to be tricky. At the same time, there is another question, which is that is it equally as destructive on the human psyche or on criminal behavior, if you will? Will it create something in the minds of certain criminals that would facilitate real-world harms? I'm not saying I have a definitive answer on this. All I'm saying is that this is going to be something that virtual communities are going to struggle with increasingly going forward, especially as the virtual worlds we see now online start to mesh with virtual reality technologies, and we start to have a projection of virtual life into the real world. That's when things are going to get really, really interesting. I mean, I'm just waiting for the day when I come home and see my son swashbuckling with Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean 10 in my living room, and Johnny Depp running virtual swords through my kid's real neck. I'm going to probably be a little bit creeped out at first, and I hope my first instinct isn't to run to the government and say, ban virtual reality. I'm sure it won't be, but you can imagine that some parents will be very nervous about that. They'd be even more nervous if they come home and find Junior having an orgy with 14 naked women. So you can imagine that we're going to have a real struggle with this as a society going forward. And I would hope we can find other solutions to this, other ways to deal with this besides a blanket prohibition, because I never think that's a good idea. But nonetheless, it's something to keep our eye on.